What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today it is the beginning of our 3-round mock draft with trades. Of course, this is going to be split up into 2 days, just like the NFL draft. Day 1 is round 1, day 2 is rounds 2 and 3. I may remind you, if you think a full 3-round video should be condensed into 45 minutes or less, then you're probably not watching the right people. So just keep that in mind. I like to be able to give you guys my thought process and then be able to allow you guys to pick it apart, because I think that communication, even if it's positive and negative, is still good for both of us. I like to make a mistake once and make it only once. So be a dick, just don't be a dick about it. I want to learn and continue to do better and better. Been doing this for 4.5 years, but I want to be the best. So you guys can help me get there. You guys are fans of one team. I'm a fan of all 32. You guys catch my blind spots, and I love you for it. So below my face is my board. It's going to irritate you, but at the end of the day, I owe you guys honesty. This is going to be based off of my current grades. Some of these players have not been regraded since the preseason. However, all these players have been graded exclusively in all 22, and that's why. I only have a couple sources of all 22, and I also have a real job. I have a real life, but I do watch the games every single week. I'm not going to move the grades, though, based on normal game tape. That's why I have this, but I have my board to show you something special. But below that are all the great ways to get involved in the community. Take advantage of our sponsor in UnderDog Fantasy. You get up to $1,000 for free in that bonus cash. It's the top link in that link tree. So let's get on with it. Jaguars, #1 overall. I decided to just go with the normal record because it's a great way to change things up. I have no idea what's about to happen. It's a live mock draft. But if the Jaguars are sitting at #1 overall, cornerback is a key position for them to draft. And Travis Hunter ain't going to be a quarterback in the NFL, or corner. Well, he's definitely not going to be a quarterback, but he's not going to be a corner in the NFL. You know why? And it sucks because I love him as a corner, but corners don't get paid jack, especially compared to wide receivers. And you just got to go where the money's at. And I love Travis Hunter, but I think I love Will Johnson just a little bit more. And Will Johnson is, to be fair, the best player that I've ever graded. Maybe not scouted, but graded. And it's been a couple years of me grading, and he's by far the best. The next best is Sauce Gardner. So for me, I feel very confident in my cornerback evaluations. I really do think Will Johnson's special, and I think this team is pretty damn desperate for a #2 or even a #1 corner, which Will Johnson will be fitting into. At pick #2 for the Miami Dolphins, it's interesting that they're here. I'm still not very used to this draft order at all, because I've been going solely off of Super Bowl prediction or Super Bowl odds, which, I mean, to be fair, it's a little bit more realistic, but it's fun to throw a little bit of a curveball here and there. It's 4 weeks in. It's okay for us to have some fun here, but I want to go offensive line. Just believe me there. But I also like to keep this relatively realistic. Relatively is a big term because of the fact that none of us know what's going to happen. So that's why I like to put my own little twist on it. But I like giving you guys a mock draft that you can expect with my special twist on it. So it'll keep you a little bit on your toes. But the Dolphins just are not the organization to go after offensive line early. I wish it weren't the case, but it is the case. Quarterback, I don't think is on the table. I don't think Tua's retiring. It doesn't add up to me. And, it's a team that I think this is the perfect spot to trade out. I really do. Like, we have trades, finally. Hallelujah. And, we have a good amount of draft capital as it is, but, like, I just really don't see the value in being able to go after any of these positions. And looking at the teams that are on the horizon, to be fair, not many of them need a quarterback, which it's kind of freaking crazy. Again, I'm still getting used to this, but there are teams that certainly could be using an offensive lineman. I know for a fact the Patriots are a prime team to be able to go after Will Campbell. And, if I'm the Dolphins and I see that one of my in-division rivals has a gaping hole at left tackle and there is a player lurking right here to fill that issue, I am more than inclined to get the hell out of there, even take a discount if I have to, in order to solve that problem. Now, looking at the teams that need the left tackle the best, well, not many need a left tackle. But I do see a team that could either place Will Campbell left tackle or move him to right, and definitely could use him as an offensive tackle. And that's the Titans. But with the Dolphins' needs, I think it's more realistic for a team like the Rams to want to move up. It's just too far. Too far. I'm actually going to be moving up with the Titans. I thought the Rams would be better because it's NFC and all, but We are going to be moving up with the Tennessee Titans. And you might say, well, if you're moving up that much, you should be going for a quarterback. I still have faith in Will Levis. That interception this past week, it's still not great. But at the end of the day, when you actually look at like where the defender was turned, he was actually turned away from the ball. So Will Levis tried to fit it into a blind spot, and it doesn't excuse all of the plays that he's made poorly, but it's still worth noting there. And I think for this, we might have to toss in that future second. I think it's a first and a fourth because it gives you a little bit extra draft capital here. And then you could get maybe a future first, maybe a future second, and a future second. I think it's totally worth it because of the fact that this team, the Titans, you still need offensive line help. And whether you want to put J.C. Latham back at his native position at right, or you want to test Will Campbell out there, you are going to have to fill one of those tackle spots. J.C. Latham has done a very good job. Make sure you get that again. And this class is not good at offensive tackle. Don't listen to anybody. It is not good at offensive tackle. But Will Campbell is damn good. And if he doesn't succeed as a tackle, you bet your ass he's going to succeed as a guard on your team. And at worst, you're getting a better version of Peter Skoronski. And I love Peter Skoronski. So you're getting someone who's really classy. And yes, Will Campbell's grade is based off of his South Carolina game. Just keep that in mind. It's very, very skewed against him. But Miami might be able to take a little bit of a discount in order to screw over the Patriots, who are sitting here at pick number 3. And, I think that you still need to fix that left tackle spot, but I think it does drop off after Will Campbell. That being said, your offensive line does not seem to have somebody who is even remotely close to Kelvin Banks Jr.'s level at left tackle. So I think this is where you might be actually justified reaching for need because Kelvin Banks is a really solid player. And again, the drop-off is real. Pick number 4 for the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going Travis Hunter all day long. He's going to play wide receiver for us. T-Mac might be the better fit, but I think Travis Hunter is just built differently. And you could say the same thing for T-Mac, but Travis Hunter is just he has that X factor to him, and you guys know this. I don't need to explain it, but Travis Hunter just really is special. You can't let him pass unless you have an unbelievably gaping hole the size of the left tackle spot of the Patriots, where that's where you could start justifying it. But Travis Hunter, you could go T-Mac there if you want, but I personally think Travis Hunter could be really, really special, especially back in a role that could be similar to Tyler Boyd's. Pick number 5 for the Cleveland Browns. This is a spot where I think I might want to trade back so I can get Ashton Genty. This team does rely very heavily on its running back support. Now, to be fair, Jahmyr Gibbs almost went at number 6 overall. Thank God he did not. However, when you are looking at the talents on the board, you got Milroe here, you got some other top weapons like T-Mac. There's certainly some room to potentially maneuver and be able to get your guy, Cam Ward, as well. You do see the Panthers who are sitting here. You also see the Cardinals. I'm not saying that's like quarterback teams, but teams that might want to get aggressive for a big impact player. The Rams had proven to be willing to move up and be aggressive as well. And when you do look at the talents that are available, Ben Morrison really is the next best at corner. And even though I have Ephesians Priceock and Azariah Thomas here, which I saw Azariah in person, I think this guy's an absolute stud. I still don't think, I haven't been able to regrade Ephesians yet, but Ephesians is a beast. I wish PFF had the grades, or had them at least in the system. They're doing a better job, so shout out to them for at least continually improving. But for when you see someone like Ben Morrison, who is like leagues ahead, in my opinion, of even other prospects, and he hasn't even had the best year. I mean, if you look at it, he hasn't had the best year. But I love the fact that he is someone who has been consistently versus the number 1 corner or number 1 receiver. And a team like the Rams really need that. They don't care about their picks anyways. So a team like the Browns, where, you still need to continue recouping draft capital because of how much that you've lost in young talent from that Deshaun Watson trade, I think this is a prime opportunity for the Rams to be able to capitalize on a key position. I could have traded back and got Tacario Davis maybe, but I do think there's a noticeable drop-off even with Tacario. Now, we don't have a second-round pick this year, and I think Cleveland, you're set in terms of this year capital. So this might end up taking a future 3rd and then maybe the 100th pick, maybe 109. But you can be able to finagle that all you want. I think that the Rams would be able to get that done. So again, future capital not allowed in the PFF mock draft simulator. Keep that in mind. I'm going to be going Benjamin Morrison here. I think he's fantastic. He's just been reliable as a corner one. And even though he hasn't been statistically that this year, play style wise, I think he's doing a phenomenal job. And to be fair, Notre Dame just hasn't really been in the optimal position that they normally are with a very consistent offense, which again, they haven't really had this year. At pick number 6 for the Dolphins, this is where I'm going to feel comfortable sticking and picking. And I think Malachi Starks is a super stud. I had him on a stock down list when he had 2 defensive stops and only allowed 60 yards, one of those being an unbelievable catch. So, I think that he's on another level defensive back wise. And I think that that's going to be overwhelmingly more contributory than any of the other players that are on the board. Again, you could always talk about quarterback here, but I know that in the next rounds, we also have that capability. We're going to be going Malachi Starks here out of Georgia. Pick number 7 for the Carolina Panthers. Receiver, right up your alley. You could also look at quarterback. You can look at edge rusher. But, to be fair, I think one of the positions that is surprisingly weak in this class is edge. So it's not out of the blue if you want to go after edge rusher here. Because wide receivers deep, there's good players all around. Linebackers, you're definitely not taking in this top 7. You're not going to take a quarterback here either, in my opinion. As much as I love these QBs, especially with this draft order, again, I want to reemphasize the fact this is a brand new draft order to me. So it's like, oh shit, okay. You could just opt for Luther Burden to replace Deontay Johnson, which, to be fair, is my comp for Luther Burden. But I do think that continuing to develop the defense might be your best return on investment. Let's go after Luther Burden. I don't give this guy enough respect. He usually falls a lot in my mock drafts. I do think the receiver class is pretty deep, but at the same time, there's a certain threshold where there's receivers that are talented and can remain around the NFL, and there's just a certain point, like it's maybe 5%, 10%, but it really pushes you from a reliable guy who is towards the latter half of the 53 to being worth one of the top 5 players on the roster. I do think that gap is so minute, but it's that little threshold that makes the difference between whether you're going to be great or not. So a lot of people think Luther Burden is that. I'm not fully there just yet, but I really do love the fact that, hey, I think of him as the number 1 receiver pretty much on this team because Deontay Johnson probably not going to be there next year. At pick number 8 for the Cleveland Browns. I already talked about it. We're going Ashton Jeanty. Yes, I could go Jalen Milroe and then solve your quarterback problems. Deshaun costs $80 million over the next 2 years. There's a lot of really solid developmental quarterbacks in this class. I'd prefer to spend my later picks on those. Ashton Jeanty is going to keep your offense actually competitive. And, look at his stats. This is through, 4 games? Where the hell's the yards at? 845. Ridiculous. Ridiculous talent. I've been trying to get him into the top 10. I would have felt comfortable sitting there at pick 5 and taking him, but we digress and get back to it at pick number 9 with the Arizona Cardinals. Mason Graham is here. So it's defensive tier, offensive line, pass rush. Those are the 3 big key positions. And I do think pass rush is the most valuable at the moment. And I want to take the hot hand. I don't think Abdul Carter yet is worth this pick. But what I've seen week after week after week, and I'm not just talking about the PFF grade. I'm talking about the way that, especially this past week, this was his biggest test. Week 1, I was like, damn, you did absolutely nothing versus Wyatt Millum. And that was a game I really wanted to see, oh, are you a bigger project than expected? He ended up not doing too well at all. Actually being the worst graded defender on the team. But he ended up performing relatively well the next 2 weeks. And this past week, I'm like, okay, you're facing Illinois. They have a left tackle and a right tackle. And to be fair, the right tackle might be a guard. But J.C. Davis is someone who's very, very respected in the draft community as one of those dark horse day 2, day 3 type of guys. And ended up having his best game, going off 9 pressures. That is exactly what you're looking for. And I think he just might have put it all together. We'll see this coming week. But right now, I want to ride the hot hand. And Abdul Carter fits this defense hand in glove. Gannon loves explosiveness. He loves 255 plus pounds. And it works. He has that coverage ability as well. I'm going to roll with the hot hand in this one. Again, round 2, I've seen it time and time again. I get really uncomfortable with the value of edge rusher in round 2. It does tank off a cliff. So you might see edge rushers go a little bit higher. At pick number 10 for the New York Giants, we're going after QB1 at this pick. Take your pick between Milroe and Ward. Ward right now is my QB2, and you'll see, where's Miller Moss? I reevaluate him every single week. I watch every single game of his in all 22, and he's down here at 24. He's still my QB1. However, we got pretty damn close race. We're getting a really close race now with Ward and Milroe and Alar being right in that group. Someone who fell noticeably, Carson Beck. Next quarterback to get reevaluated is Shedeur Sanders, and he had a great game this past week. So he will most likely be rising up my board into the top 5. Crazy. But we're going to be going Jalen Milroe here. Again, riding the hot hand. I ended up reevaluating his game versus Georgia, and here are my actual thoughts from this. And I should save this for my quarterback evaluation video in a couple of weeks, but, you guys deserve it. You earned it. So Milroe is almost a generational level athlete. Don't really see many guys like him. Even Anthony Richardson, as athletic as he is, he ran in the 4.4s. On the field, he doesn't move with the fluidity. If you combine Anthony Richardson and Lamar Jackson, and you might say that's a cheap cop-out, but I'm not even using it as a cheap cop-out. He has the physicality of Anthony Richardson with the fluidity of Lamar Jackson, and it is unbelievable. So probably the best athlete I've ever studied at quarterback. Like, I'm genuinely sitting there being like, holy shit, every single time this guy moves. He has a big arm. I think that he usually makes the right decision. I like that about him. But there are also times where I ended up posting about this on X. And again, follow me over there. Use that link tree, 2 clicks away from going anywhere you want. And on X, I ended up posting clips about this. I posted all 22 clips for you guys to be able to see my thought process. There were a couple throws where it was obviously forced and a very, very poor decision. I think that he's still growing in that regard, but the quantity of poor decisions has dropped off tremendously. And when you're in a high-stakes game versus Georgia, sometimes slip-ups do happen. So I love the fact that he continued to bounce back. He continued to play well. I want that ball placement to get better. A lot of these quarterbacks are still spotty with that placement, but he still, to me, brings unbelievable upside to where if you keep him in rhythm, this guy can get you to the playoffs and can be a legitimate threat. Even if the arm gets shut down, the legs are so dynamic, it's worth taking the risk. At pick number 11 for the Indianapolis Colts, we're going to go corner here. You got Takerio Davis. Takerio Davis fits this team hand in glove. They like big, physical, high IQ corners. That's Takerio Davis to a T. I'm a big fan of his game. Again, I ended up saying that there's a noticeable difference between him and Ben Morrison. Ben Morrison's my number 2 player. What do you expect? That's why I have my board below my face, so I don't have to explain that. But Takerio Davis is super high IQ, great physical build at over 6'4", and he has great length, great ball skills. It's just somebody that he flies under the radar, but he's a really, really good talent. And actually, Ephesians Prysock was his teammate there at Arizona, who had actually almost the exact opposite abilities, where top end speed might have been a little limited, but the fluidity was certainly there, and the change of direction was a little bit better. That they ended up complementing each other very, very well. At number 12 for the Chargers, talk about a dream fit. Their defensive interiors always needed help, and Mason Graham sitting here, a player I absolutely adore because of the easy pass rush wins. I'm not as high on him as other people, but he's still someone I have a lot of respect for and I like a lot. Had a slow start to the year, basically doing nothing versus Fresno State, but he's someone who's come back and has been able to be really, really consistent. So shout out to Mason Graham right there. Obviously, this is the number that I do worry about, but this is the number that surprises me. He's been far more effective versus the run than I have really expected. For the Saints, get a YOLO ball because Carr's randomly turned back into check down captain. Like, I don't know what's up with that, but get yourself a big physical target. I really do like Tetairoa McMillan's ability to complement Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. It just adds a new element. Cam Ward slipping a little bit. He did have a rough performance this past week, but he ended up bouncing back. I love that for him. And all the teams that need quarterbacks are just randomly scattered about way differently than these normal videos go. But at pick 14 for the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to kick myself in the nuts for this, but I could see a couple teams after this being very intrigued in Quinshon Judkins. I love Quinshon. You could go after defense interior here, sure. You can go after top end tight end talent, but I don't really think I think it's a bit of a embellished need there. But receiver as well, there's some good ones. But Quinshon Judkins is a clear RB2 to me in this class. I know that guys like Jordan Reed, obviously not a friend of the show, but he's a friend. Obviously, I got to meet him in Mobile, and really good guy. He has Amarian Hampton as RB2 by a long shot. We'll be reevaluating Amarian because he finally is going to be the focal point of the offense, and he's had some really good games in there. But Quinshon Judkins, to me, is head and shoulders the RB2 at the moment. Even though Trevor Etienne's sitting here at 21, the running back class is next after the quarterback class to get fully reevaluated. And it's already started. So Ashton Jeanty, as you can see, was the first of the group to be regraded. At pick number 15 for the Chicago Bears, offensive line, key. Defensive interior, there's not someone who's worth it at the moment. I could easily see wide receiver being a position that you'd like to target, but this is where I feel comfortable with the first interior offensive lineman coming off the board. You look at the offensive tackles, and to be fair, Urzuri, not a bad idea. If you want to take him here and then kick him to guard, actually, I really like that idea because he needs to learn first to be like, he's still getting up there. Versus Iowa, really key game. He had an 88.9 pass blocking grade. I love that because that's a super key game for him to have had that success. And then in Michigan, he ended up having his struggles, right? But only 5 pressures on the year through 5 games. That's perfectly respectable. I still think he needs to develop more as a left tackle pass protector. But he's somebody that you are drafting to be able to play that left tackle spot. But Josh Simmons has been ridiculously good this year, and he's going to be a second round pick for me. I'm going to actually go a little bit big brain here. I might trade down with a team that might be looking for a quarterback like Cam Ward or even a tight end like Colson Loveland, because there's a big drop off after Colson Loveland. And I know there's a player who I am going to be drafting there. And I'm going to get aggressive with Howie. Ooh, hold up. Oh, shit. That's an even better deal. I was going to get aggressive with Howie to move up, but I know a lot of teams are going to be looking for quarterbacks, seeing Cam Ward still available. They're going to get aggressive. And this is roughly 15 to 21. I think it's going to be a 3rd round pick, and then maybe something you can grab again in the next year. You guys can finagle with the draft capital value, but the one thing Antonio Pierce did not do that I was very upset about, but at the same time makes sense. He went at number 2, is pair back up with Jaden Daniels. And I'm seeing that the quarterback on this team needs to get a little bit more of an actual leader of the franchise. And I think Cam Ward brings the same upside that we saw with Jaden Daniels. I think he might be a little bit less effective. Jaden was my QB2 last year. And, Cam Ward right now is my QB2. Both athletic, both big arms, both very, very, very talented. Cam Ward just needs to limit the danger when he ends up actually, throwing the ball. And, to be fair, he ended up coming back and winning that game. It might have taken a call to go their way in order to win it, but he still put that team in a position to win. So I got to give him credit for that. He's been doing a fantastic job this year. And I think for the Raiders being able to spend that draft capital, the Bears being able to get that extra pick, maybe getting like a depth safety to be able to grow under Byard for a year with that next pick, or with that extra pick that we just got, that is going to be worth that move back, because we're going to big brain this. We're going to get an offensive lineman at 21. So we just got a free 3rd round pick, by the way. But at pick 16 for the Green Bay Packers, a lot of really solid positions to target, but I really do like the idea of going Nick Scourton at this spot. The edge rusher crew, top edge rusher, Rashawn Gary, love him. Besides that, 32-year-old, and then someone who's still developing and having a tough time. And, I keep wanting to call him Leighton Vander Esch, but Lucas Van Ness, I love him, but the guy needs this. I don't think he's ready to take over a role. I don't really think he is. I don't think he's a year out either. And I'm excited to be proven wrong about that. But Nick Scourton's ready to step in and start right away. And if you get consistent pressure, we all know what that could bring. It's called championships. Consistent pressure, I've seen it with the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers, we've had really good defenses, And even with Buns offenses, we've been able to at least push for the playoffs. So imagine when you have a great offense like you do, combined with a consistent, powerful defense, I think that's where you could really start having some great success. And I think you guys are already on track for that. At pick 17 for the Niners. Yeah, it's weird to have the Niners here, I got to admit. Offensive line, going to be the way I rock. And if Emory Jones is here, I'm taking his ass all day long. Right tackle, aggressive, if need be, guard. That is literally the dream, is to get Emory Jones on the Niners. Really aggressive, really powerful. I love it. Pick number 18 for the Baltimore Ravens. Another team that I think offensive line is the way to go. And Tyler Booker, rock solid, left tackle upside for the future. Perfect fit, in my opinion. Leaving the Philadelphia Eagles sitting here being like, damn, I can get after Mikael Williams. I can get after James Pierce. But also you can go after Colston Loveland. And I don't really believe Philly is going to go another first round with a defensive player. I think that especially given Kellen Moore's grip on the offense and how much he utilizes the tight end, Dallas Goedert's 29, will be 30. It's key to start looking at the future. And this tight end class gets pretty buns pretty quickly. I don't trust a tight end to be there at 51. There's 3 tight ends I like. Those 3 tight ends will be gone by 51. And then you're going to be stuck having to go and continue trying to go after the Grant Calcaterras of the world. Even though I went to SMU, pony up. Like, you got to do something better than that. And I think Colston Loveland is exactly the option you need. And I think this defense has enough developing players to where you have that capability, and especially the guys who are available right now. Maybe not the immediate impact that you are exactly looking for at pick number 19. Pick 20, though, for the Jets. I've been rocking this for a hot minute now, and I think I might continue that role. I could look at offensive tackle here, see if there's a good right tackle. I'm not seeing it at the moment. Go after someone who's a little bit higher floor, like a Johnny Cornelius. But it's something I've loved to do because you ended up trading for somebody to be in this exact role in Hassan Reddick. James Pierce is a hand and glove fit. Leaving the Chicago Bears sitting at 21, we big brained it. Guess what? We're going to even bigger brain it because you're going to see what's going to happen. We're going Donovan Jackson, guard out of The Ohio State University. He has left tackle upside, but just wait. Just wait. You'll see. Donovan Jackson's a stud. He is my number 7 player in the class. And again, Marcus Bowe is going to be reevaluated. I do think he's going to slide more significantly than what I'd want based on, the discoveries that we're going to find through that all-22 tape. So keep in touch for that. But again, it's why I do these videos, for you guys to be able to watch how my board is, but also how my thought process intertwines with it, because it'll show you where, certain guys who haven't been fully evaluated or haven't been reevaluated, where they actually are going to be. So it's kind of a cool way for me to show you my expectations, and then, hey, sometimes I'm wrong. Like Miller Moss ended up struggling versus Michigan. I ended up liking him more because of that game. Of course, this past week, had some other thoughts, but that's how drafting works. That's how scouting works. You end up seeing guys in their best and worst moments, and that is how you end up evolving your point of view. But for the Broncos, how the hell are they here? They're sitting here at 22, and I really do like the idea of going offensive tackle. I don't know why you get pushback from the Broncos fans. Like Garrett Bolsa for a contract, I do think you definitely could be looking at said position. But you guys want a receiving weapon, and I respect that. But there's so many of them. Like, I genuinely feel pretty comfortable with a lot of these players to where I feel comfortable moving back a little bit. And looking at the guys who are on the board right here, I see 3 teams. I actually see 4 teams in a row that might be vying for edge rusher. To be fair, Judon's not signed to a long-term contract yet. Easily could be the selection for the Falcons. You bet your ass that's going to be the selection for the Lions. Mikael Williams is like my dream pick for the Lions. Even though he's not producing that much, it's just someone who you can tell is like especially in the right hands, will do extremely well. The Commanders, yeah. And then the Bills as well. The Bills are the dark horse team here, but they have 2 second-round picks, and I see them as a team that kind of regrets, moving back in the last draft, and they might want to be able to move up here. Of course, you do see teams like the Steelers that might be intrigued with a weapon, but I really do like the idea of making a move up with one of these teams. And if I'm the Broncos, I think I'm going to go with a team that, is a little bit closer. I don't want to jump all the way back because what happens if someone goes after one of said receiving weapons? And I'd worry that the Commanders and the Bills could both be teams that would vibe with that. So I'm actually going to be trading with the Detroit Lions. They're going to jump the Atlanta Falcons, super short range trade. I think it will take pick 125, and you might even get something back for that as well. Because if you look at how the Steelers went from 15 to 17 or 17 to 15, it cost them 120. So again, feel free to toss in 238 or like 236 in said equation, but again, it's not going to affect the mock draft. So we move up with the Detroit Lions for them to select Mikael Williams. Again, super high ceiling player, just needs to, kind of rein it in. And I think he will when he's next to Aiden Hutchinson, who is already balling the F out. At pick number 23 for the Atlanta Falcons, I'm going to go after Isaiah Bond here. You're going to lose Rondale Moore, and you want a field stretcher. And I think that's exactly what Isaiah Bond brings to this team. At pick number 24 for the Detroit Lions, my goodness, the Denver Broncos. Right here, this is where I wanted a more physical, bigger receiver. And I'm going to be able to get one with Emeka Egbuka or Alec Iomaner. I think Emeka Egbuka, when healthier, is better than Alec Iomaner. The problem is Emeka hasn't really been himself until he has been this year. He's been doing a really, really good job overall. Again, pretty much better every single week. Super consistent. Someone who I'm so happy to see back in his better form. We're going Emeka Egbuka for the Broncos. Pick number 25 for the Commanders. I think that going offensive line is not a bad idea. Right tackle spot, I think, could still be upgraded. Apparently, Brandon Coleman's doing well. I saw that. I'm like, what? He sucked the first couple of weeks. But again, there's still hope. Like, I love that for him. And that leads me to wanting to go corner. And if Denzel Burke's here, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Denzel Burke's here. Just go after the really, really damn good player that he is. At pick number 26 for the Buffalo Bills. Kevin Winston Jr. is very, very intriguing here. But I really do think that Alec Iomaner at this point might be the best choice. We'll look exclusively at edge rushers. Princely's a baller, though. I think we could wait on receiver. Let's go Princely Omamielen. Princely Omamielen is an absolute freak show, by the way. I mean, like, oh, god damn. I didn't even know that he upped it to that rate. But again, somebody who I have pretty much, where is he at on my board? Number 33 overall. And again, that's factoring in for players who will be most likely below him with reevaluation. He is a top 30 player on my board, well deserving of being picked 26. For the Seattle Seahawks at pick 27, I need to go offensive line. And you guys agree. You guys know this. And looking at the right tackles that are available, I really do wish they added a couple more guys because Marcus Bowe could work here, but Jonas Savania could work here. It's not. The problem is I don't see many true right tackles that are left on the board. And because of that, I think I'd be willing to go after someone a little bit more experimental like Arianti Urzuri, who I think you can end up working with at right tackle. But to be fair, why not go after an actual right tackle who's probably going to need to be a guard for a short term and then be comfortable moving back out to tackle? And to be fair, I really do like Jonas Savania. He could end up playing center if you don't want to keep Connor Williams for the future. Obviously, Olu Oluwatimi might have something to say about that, and I loved Olu, but Jonah is a pure right tackle. He's a mauler, and I think he's still putting it all together, but he definitely could be worth it if you take him at 27, because I pretty much can guarantee you that he's going to be going to one of these other teams that are looking for offensive tackle / guard help, and the Chiefs are a prime candidate for it. Don't want to give the Chiefs. We want to limit the Chiefs as much as we can, so I think that's the right route. For the Pittsburgh Steelers at 28, running back is usually the way I rock because we usually are in a striking position to get one of the top two. I don't think any other running back is worth a first-round pick. I do think Alec Iomaner is actually a really good comp, or a really good player to compete with George Pickens, and he would complement him well. That's the word I was looking for. Now, corner-wise, there are some really good ones. Again, you look at my board below my face, you got Ephesians Pricesock, Azariah Thomas, Davison Igbinison, who I love, and this is actually post him actually getting kind of toasted. And the reason he got toasted versus Michigan State is because a dumbass defensive coordinator there, I'm going to call him out, Ohio State DC, like, you, my friend, are proving that you do not have the ability to coach at the next level. because you're watching Davison be absolutely toasted in off-man coverage, which is his weakest position. His weakest position to be in is off-man coverage. And you're putting him versus route runners who are great at generating separation. So you're doing that. You're putting him in the worst possible situation. And you know what he did? Nothing. Kept him in it. I'm like, dude, put this guy, like every rep he had him in press, non-factor. Then he just instantly that's working? Nah, let's go back. Let's go back to the thing that he just got toasted on. And he got toasted again and again and again. So that's why I still have a lot of faith in Davison Igbinosun. That is an updated grade. But that also makes me confident that in round 2, we might be able to snipe some extra corner talent. It's, I always say, like, hey, trust our abilities, like to draft guys in the second round and such and beyond, because our top weapons have always been from there. This is almost a second round pick. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost a second round pick. So we're going to go AlexCBarbour here. It's not like we're picking, like, in the top 15 where, again, it's like, guys, we don't need to spend that high value of a pick when there's other players who are instant impacts. If we saw, especially Denzel Burke slipping, I'm taking his ass any day over AlexCBarbour. But this is a player who's a massive, massive win for our franchise. Hopefully we can bring back Justin Fields, and I think that we can end up rocking. Pick number 29 for the Houston Texans. So defensive interior is the way I go. Defensive interior is the way I'm going to continue to go. And my number 2 defensive interior in the class, Tyleik Williams, will be the selection. Late first round pick. Sorry to my Texans fans who really do love, who want some versatility with the pick. But at the end of the day, I think that his overall play during the year, again, he's been hurt. But, unless you like tore your Achilles, I don't necessarily knock you too much. Like, I do think that there's a lot of injuries that you bounce back from. Football's a physical sport. Just because you're not out for an injury or on the injury report, it doesn't mean that you're not injured. I mean, players get hurt. That's just a nature of a physical game. So, Tyleik, though, is still a fantastic player. Pick number 30 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is prime opportunity to move back potentially and allow a team to move up. However, I'm going to stand on business and go after my number 5 player in the draft here in Jalen Walker to play edge rusher for this team. I think this guy is an absolute stud, just a little bit more scheme specific, and because he's 245 pounds, but he's the perfect player to replace Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. He's someone who I'd be happy taking in the top 10, but also understandably so if he ends up falling to pick 30. At pick number 31 for the Vikings, I don't see a player that's worth it here. I see Ariante Urzuri, and I feel almost obligated to try to get a team to move up for him just so the Chiefs can't get him. And I do see a lot of players that, like, there's one player in Ariante Urzuri who I would be very, very afraid of seeing him replace Trey Smith, like deadly afraid. And I want to move with a team that is looking still for that left tackle. And guess what? You got the damn freaking, like, look, you got 2 teams right here in the AFC East. You got the Dolphins and the Patriots that are both looking for their tackle. But guess what? You also have the Jaguars who are looking for a left tackle. And you don't even have to lose anything by moving to 33. And look at all the picks that we have not gotten. But you want some back? You want some back? Let's get pick 132 in there. And let's see how it goes. Maybe you could toss in 215 if you like. But that 5th-year tax can come in pretty hefty. But regardless, we got some extra draft capital by doing so. And now the Jacksonville Jaguars have moved up to also flip off the Chiefs. I love that. So you guys are ending up getting what? Will Johnson and Ariante Urzuri? Hell to the yes. Pick number 32 with the Chiefs. I don't see a guy right now that I would take. Kenneth Grant's great, but I still want to potentially move out of this spot because we do have some good quarterbacks that are still on the board. To be fair, I don't know if any of these guys have solidified themselves as a guaranteed first-round pick. Again, you could argue Shedeur Sanders all you want, but again, there's reasons why he could not go in the first. And based on the claims that there's only 10 first-round quality players on NFL GM boards, there's a safe chance that these quarterbacks might not be in the contention for round 1. But, I mean, are there any teams that could be in that mood? I don't know. I don't really see it. To be fair, I think I actually might stick and pick here with the Chiefs. And you know what? I think Kenneth Grant's perfectly fine. He's been very unproductive, but he actually finally had a good week. I'm pretty sure this past week he had 4 pressures, so that makes me super happy to see. He's also a batted ball machine, but I mean, he's been very unproductive, and then I think this past week he just finally started to do something. It makes me so happy when I see players do that. But Kenneth Grant, in the right situation, he has the motor and he has the physical capabilities to be unbelievable, and now he has, probably the best mentor in the world in Chris Jones to get him there. So that's going to be the video. Stay tuned tomorrow for rounds 2 and 3. I've had a great time with this new draft order. It's made me a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe it's made you a little uncomfortable, but we'll be uncomfortable together, but still having a great time nonetheless. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. See you on the far side. Peace.